Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here another video. This time I figured, why not react to the Madam Web trailer? It's been out for a long while, and I'm pretty much just now got around to really thinking about doing a video about it, and I'm pretty much after I've seen it. I'll just go ahead and say it. I didn't hate the trailer. It just kind of looked like a mediocre 90s type flick or whatever. It was okay. I mean, it's just kind of another superhero movie. Like, a lot of people, like, really hate these, like, Sony flicks or whatever, or Sony Universe flicks, because they want these characters done by the MCU or whatever, with Disney, with Spider-Man in them. In my opinion, the MCU's kind of in a bad place right now. It's not horrible. It's still the best comic book movie franchise, movie-wise, out there. Like, I like the DCEU. I do. I went back and forth with my feelings about, like, Batman vs. Superman, thinking it was good or whatever, but ultimately, I think I really do enjoy that film. Watching it again, I do think it's an awesome flick. But with me and the DC stuff or whatever, that really the DCEU really appeals to me, because I feel like with that, a lot of people just dislike the DCEU because it doesn't really give them the more standard comic book adaptation versions of those characters that they wanted. Instead, Snyder just kind of does his own thing with the material, and I can let that go and watch those movies for what they are, instead of what I really would have preferred them to be, kind of, as a fan of the comics. So I can enjoy those movies for Snyder's takes on the material, and I can enjoy the DCEU for what it is. But I can understand why his version or his style may not be for everybody. But in terms of the MCU, I still think even though it's in a rut, I still think it is the best, most cohesive comic book movie universe we got out right now. Even though the fact that it's in such a rut, I really don't think it's that much better, really, than the quality of the DCEU as a whole right now. But yeah, with the Sony movies or whatever, I like the first Venom movie. Sorry about the constantly moving camera. I'm just trying to adjust my hands where I'm standing here outside. I prefer to do videos outside pretty much. But I like the first Venom movie. It is messy in terms of writing, but it's a good, silly, fun, like 90s type superhero movie. Or 90s to early 2000s superhero type movie. That's pretty much what all these Sony films feel like. Venom Let There Be Carnage. A lot of people don't like this one because they don't like the way Carnage is depicted in it. And I get it. He's more of an R-rated character. I understand. I'm trying to condense him down to this more silly Venom type version of Venom or whatever, and make him PG-13 and all that. It's much more goofy. But for the movie that he's in, you're never going to get an R-rated version of Carnage. And even if it was in the MCU, you're not going to get an R-rated version of Carnage. It ain't happening. With the movie that he's in, I think Woody Harrelson works in this film, and it's honestly my favorite of the Sony flicks. The first Venom, like I said, I'd still give it a 3 out of 4. I thought it was good. The second Venom, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 4. For what it is, it's a pretty good flick, pretty good fun time. I really think it's pretty close and pretty even to the quality of that first Venom. Morbius was a film, when I originally reviewed it, I gave it a 3 out of 4. I thought it was good at the time because people were just kind of railroading on it, like MCU fans were. Watching it again, it's more like it's really a 2.5 out of 4. I was just wanting to take up for the film the first time I watched it. I still don't think this is a bad film. Like, I see some people online who are like comic book movie fans or whatever saying like, this is one of the worst comic book movies ever. It's like, no, you haven't seen enough comic book movies. You're young. It's like, no, this is just a mediocre superhero movie. Once again, though, like it should have been rated R. But if you can take it for the movie that it is and part of the Sonyverse, it's just a mediocre comic book film. It's a 2.5 out of 4. I think Jared Leto does a good acting job in it. I don't think he's bad in this film. But overall, the movie just has nothing really remarkable about it, or nothing to really that interesting about it beyond the fact it's a superhero vampire. So it's a 2.5 out of 4 for me watching it again. It's still not a bad movie. I still don't mind it, but it would be in like the alright time waster category. It's a mediocre film, but it's nowhere near as bad as what people say it is. The Madam Web trailer, it looks okay. To me, it actually looks worse than Morbius, mostly because I think expectations are probably a little higher for this one than something like Morbius, because those other films are just kind of solo hero films, even though these characters are villains. Sony's just making them heroes. They're not even anti-heroes, really. They're just heroes. So I think expectations are a little higher for this than something like Morbius, or even than Morbius, because it's a team of superheroes, Spider Women. So there's probably a little bit higher expectations for that. So watching it, I was just like, this trailer's okay. It just feels like all the other Sony flicks. It does feel like a cash grab, but at the same time, when the movie comes out, I'm going to judge it for what it is. The suits and costumes look very cosplay. The acting seems fine. Overall, I think this will end up being my least favorite of the Sony films, but it'll be a movie where I go, it's okay, 2 out of 4, a time waster. like I just don't have the vitriol and the hatred for these Sony flicks like a lot of the hardcore like MCU fans do and stuff like that. Even though I am an MCU fan, I'm just like, they're fine for what they are. And this one, it does look like it's the worst of the 4 that we've gotten so far to me, but I just don't feel like I'm gonna hate this. Like, for me to hate a movie, it has to really piss me off. This just looks like it's gonna be another one of those mediocre to okay, just kind of there movies. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.